Istanbul, at the sunset of the Ottoman Empire. Inside Sultan Abdülhamid's palace, isolated from the rest of the world, time seems to have stopped several centuries ago. The Sultan lives here with his retinue of servants and concubines. Songs and dances reign in the palace, while outside people stage protests, demanding a change of authoritarian power. The situation is worsened by the decline of trade and industry, as well as by uprisings in the Balkans after the failed war with the Russian Empire. The vizier strongly advises the Sultan to order the gates opened and address the people, but Abdülhamid has no intention of doing so. Meanwhile, Nader, a young eunuch from the Sultan's personal guard, visits the chambers of the concubine Sophia, who was not expecting him today. Even remaining in the palace is dangerous now, so Nader wants to make sure Sophia is safe. The chambers will be locked. As the country is torn apart by civil war even more, all the women of the palace are frightened, not knowing what future awaits them. Perhaps this is the last night. Gulfiden distracts everyone with a story about a young concubine who entered the Sultan's harem for the first time and knew nothing about the world in which she would have to stay forever. She encounters the Sultan's old favorite, for whom this was supposed to be her last day in the harem. After this, a boat will take her forever to the Palace of Tears. Both women were waiting, each for her own fate. One was entering this world, while the other was leaving it. At the same time, we see how an aged Sophia encounters a young woman named Anita, who is waiting for a train. The story of the young and the old concubines will be told through the prism of this conversation in the future. Sitting across from each other, the women could not help but meet each other's eyes. Gulfiden says that the elder concubine had nothing to tell the younger one as a parting word, except that three forces rule in the harem: love, power and fear. The girl, overcoming her shyness, asked whether it was about love for the Sultan. The older woman objected, saying that love for the Sultan is not passion and not what makes the heart tremble. Without realizing it, the woman began to tell the story of her own life in the harem, just as Sophia does to Anita. Truth be told, there is nothing more to tell. The events shift to the past. One night a fire breaks out in the palace, and the awakened women scatter in screams. Abdülhamid quickly identifies the culprit, Ishe, one of the concubines, and demands that she be taken out of his sight. From now on, the Sultan forbids anyone to leave the palace, even for a walk in the garden. Enemies are everywhere, and no one can be trusted. Another night passes. The young women of the harem compete for the Sultan's attention, ready for anything to be the next one whom he invites into his chambers. And Sophia has no intention of yielding to her rivals. The eunuch Nader is in love with this remarkable woman, distinguished not only by her beauty but also by her sharp mind. They share a meal. Nader tries to find out from her what purpose Ishe had in setting the fire. But this is only a pretext to be alone with Sophia. The girl assumes that perhaps Ishe simply wanted to attract the Sultan's attention, so that he would belong to her alone. Abdülhamid gave Ishe in marriage to one of his guards, a punishment far too generous, in Sophia's opinion. The girl pretends she does not know how to behave at the table and eats with her hands. Nader admits that he merely wanted to get to know Sophia better. It is known that she is Italian by origin. Her parents sold her into the harem. The girl reads and writes in 3 languages, so it is clear that she is well acquainted with table manners. Valid, the Sultan's mother and mistress of the harem, understands this as well. Sophia is far too diligent for a slave, exactly the kind of wife Valid has always dreamed of for her son. Nader decides to show Sophia the luxurious chambers of Sultaness Esma, who lived 100 years ago. She was obsessed with everything new and English. Nader explains that Esma often crossed the Bosphorus in search of young men to satisfy her desires. Everyone recognized her boat from afar by the handsome youths in it. Esma chose the one who pleased her the most, and after a night of love, she ordered him executed. She was never a beloved wife, only the sister of Sultan Mahmud II. Any woman in the harem could only dream of such power. Nader tells Sophia that she needs a patron and protector, someone she can fully trust. The girl objects, saying she is not a favorite. Nader hints that the Sultan has already asked about her. There is no selfless friendship in the harem, but in Nader Sophia sees someone with whom she can be herself, someone with whom she can have an unusual kind of connection. Nader offers the girl his friendship. He could help her rise above all other concubines, to become the Sultan's beloved wife and the mother of his children. Tonight, thanks to Nader's efforts, Sophia will spend her first night in Abdülhamid's chambers, while the other women of the harem amuse themselves with music and belly dancing. As the Sultan still has not appeared, Sophia yawns in boredom and plays with the cat, dangling her jewelry. Meanwhile, it is time for the women's evening story. Everyone is in anticipation, like King Shahryar awaiting the next tale of Scheherazade. Abdülhamid enters his chambers and discovers Sophia asleep on the floor beside the cat. He finds this sight quite touching. From now on, Sophia becomes the Sultan's favorite. Nader secretly passes her a scroll. It turns out to be the text of an opera that Sophia must translate for the master. No one must know about this, as European cultural influences are not welcomed in the Ottoman Empire. Every concubine dreams of earning the Sultan's attention, for him to invite her not only at night but also during the day. For this one needs not only beauty but something more. Sophia, not lacking in intellect, teaches the harem servants literacy so that the women may know how to read and write. Nader is awakened by Midhat Pasha, who announces that Sumbul has not returned. Nader goes to look for him. Rumor has it that Sumbul left with a soldier, though he is not supposed to leave the palace at night. Having found Sumbul, Nader scolds him and explains that they are not men, and that the meaning of their lives lies in serving the Sultan. The guy declares that he has fallen in love. Nader carefully hides that he has fallen into the same trap. The situation in the palace is tense, so lately all the women live in constant fear. Sophia is no exception, yet she finds comfort in Nader's company. They meet secretly in the chambers of Sultaness Esma, understanding that it is risky because they may be caught at any moment. Their friendship grows into something more. If Nader had the right to choose, he would not have chosen the life of a eunuch, but when he was very young, no one asked him. Nader wishes Sophia would see him as a man. Despite everything, the girl returns his feelings. They meet again in Esma's chambers. Nader confesses his love to Sophia, and despite the physiological barriers, they give in to passion. The lovers know that no one else must suspect what is happening between them. But the girl does not forget her goal either, to become the Sultan's chief favorite. A newcomer appears in the harem, a young beautiful woman named Aliye from Italy. Sophia offers Aliye jewelry in exchange for the next night with the Sultan. But the girl refuses firmly, believing she will receive the same from their master. Sophia advises her to think carefully. No one receives gifts after a single night, and it might be the only night Aliye will ever have. As Gulfiden tells her story, all the women are curious whether the heroine will manage to enter the master's chambers. The woman says she certainly will. The elderly Sophia continues her story to Anita as well. When Abdulhamid saw Sophia in his chambers, he was puzzled, for he had not expected her that night. Sophia replied that she had bought this night, which astonished him. Anita wants to know everything about the former concubine's life before their paths part forever. And the elderly woman continues her story. Soon after Sophia bought the right to the night with the Sultan, Nader announces to the women of the harem that Aliye has died. She drowned in the strait. Obviously this was not Abdulhamid's order. Everyone thinks it is Sophia's doing, a scheme to rid herself of all rivals on her way to the Sultan. From then on, she becomes an outcast in the harem. The other women hate Sophia for receiving the attention and gifts of their master. Soon she gives birth to a son, Abdulhamid's heir. Despite everything, it is a joyful event in the harem even for the other concubines. And Nader is happy for his beloved as well. Valid adores Sophia and grants her blessing. There is fierce competition in the harem, and not everyone can withstand it. But Sophia managed, giving the Sultan a son, Osman. Thus she attained the highest position after Valid and the Sultan's first wife, Selma. Nader gladly helps care for little Osman. Soon Nader will leave on an important mission for the Sultan, and Sophia will miss him terribly, even if it is only for 3 days. A terrible tragedy occurs. Little Osman becomes gravely ill. Gulfiden, the storyteller within the story, seems to take part in these events, echoing her tale about the elderly and the young women of the harem. It is the servant, which Gulfiden also is, who first notices that the boy is sick. Sophia is inconsolable. Despite past quarrels, the other concubines support her in every possible way, believing that the physicians will be able to heal the Sultan's son. One of the women suggests that it might have been poison, plunging Sophia into even deeper despair. Who could commit such a betrayal against Abdulhamid? When Nader appears, the expression on his face makes it clear that the worst has happened. Little Osman could not be saved. Like Sophia, Abdulhamid is inconsolable. Shortly after this, Sophia disappears, throwing the entire harem into panic. Only Nader has a guess where she might be. He finds her holding lifeless Osman in her arms. They grieve together in profound sorrow. And though Nader is not the father of this child, he shares his beloved's grief entirely. From that day on, Sophia withdraws into herself. A wall seems to rise between her, the harem and the Sultan. The young woman remains alone in her sorrow. Abdulhamid is faced with a choice: to sign the constitution and stop the civil war, or surrender himself to the fury of the people. And he signs it. From that day, for the next 8 months, everything appears to continue as before. But in truth it is the beginning of the end. Because of the looming danger, the principal women of the harem, including Abdulhamid's wife Selma with their son, are sent out of the palace. The Sultan also intends to leave and take Nader with him, which would be a great honor for anyone, except for him. Nader does not want to leave his beloved, promising to return and that Sumbul will look after her in the meantime. When Anita hears this in the future, she will not be able to hold back her tears. It will seem so unfair to her, when others' fates are handled with such ruthlessness. But those were different times, And Anita would not have understood anyway. Some time after the constitution is signed and the Sultan has departed, the parliament issues a law according to which the harem is dissolved. The women may return to their families, yet it is unlikely that they truly wish to. Their families are not waiting for them, and outside the palace they are all doomed to starve. The members of parliament promise to find the relatives of all the women and to take care of them. In the palace nothing remains of the former splendor but desolation. The former concubines are in despair, not knowing where they are to go now. Naturally the relatives of all the women are not found. Sophia tries to encourage the others, assuring them that a home will be found for each of them, for the parliament has promised it. But not everyone believes this. Young women who have no one are offered shelter and food. The wealthy life in the palace, surrounded by servants, is now in the past, replaced by a reality none of them had been prepared to face. The former concubines are now forced to remain in a shelter and sleep on the floor, living on simple broth. They are homeless. Sophia longs not only for her life in the palace but also for her deceased son. Perhaps had Osman lived, the Sultan would not have abandoned her, as well as dozens of his other women, to their fate. The harem has no place in the new democratic world. As he promised, Nader returns. In the city, considering the change of political regime, it is still unsafe to remain. Yet at times Sophia, accompanied by Nader, walks through the streets, and it seems to her that all of Istanbul is looking at her. Nader and Sophia still love each other passionately. And apart from this love, they have nothing left. They sleep side by side with stray dogs and go hungry. The city has fallen into dead silence. Sophia is forced to return to her homeland in Italy and perform on the stage of a theater. She is known as a former slave of the harem, the favorite of the last sultan of the fallen Ottoman Empire. To the audiences of Europe, this seems something exotic. Many years later Anita will ask Sophia how long she danced on stage, whether she found her parents and what she did afterwards. She will only answer that she grew old. In the past, on one of those days, Sophia receives a sorrowful letter from those who still remain in what had once been the Ottoman Empire, stating that Nader has died, having fallen under a train. And it had not been an accident, he had done it intentionally. The amulet Nader always wore he left for his only love, Sophia. Yet much later she will not tell Anita of Nader's death, lying that he married a widow with children and found his happiness. Sophia will say this because she herself will wish to believe it. After this, the two women will part forever. Thus end the tales of both Sophia and Gulfiden. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel not to miss more exciting new products. Also, the authors will be pleased if you leave your opinion in the comments.